having our Marine customers, the United States Marine Corps. They are a very important customer to us, and they are joining us also, but they can't join us via GoToMeeting, so I'm simulcasting on their platform as well as GoToMeeting. So there will be a couple quirks here, especially with the audio that when I transfer the presenter. So if you all just bear with me, it shouldn't be but a hiccup, and we'll get that rolling. But right now, not only do we have our civilian customers online with us today, we also have our military customers. So I'd like to personally welcome everybody from the United States Marine Corps that's joining us. So with that, it's time to get started. That's me. I'm the lead trainer, Tom Lewis, with emergency reporting since 2004 and a trainer since 2011. I'd also like to welcome for the first time Ryan Dennett. He's one of our newest regional trainers. He is a training captain out at Gorham Fire Department in Maine, 11 years in the fire department, and he's been using emergency reporting since 2010. And like I said, he's one of our brand new regional trainers, so he's getting his feet wet here doing virtual Thursdays. And those of you, especially in the Northeast, will see him at future regional training conferences. So Ryan, welcome. Glad you're here to participate. Johnnie Phelps, welcome back. He was with us last week. He's a training officer and paramedic with the Anniston Fire Department, 14 years on the job there, and he was assigned training officer back in 2012, and I had the privilege of going out with our other regional trainer, Dale, to train them back in December of 2013, and he impressed me very much with how he's implementing Training 3.0, so we've asked him to kind of share a real-world experience from one of our customers on how he's making the most out of Training 3.0. So he's going to take us home today at the last 15 minutes or so. So Johnny, thanks again for joining us. I know you're busy at your department today, so thanks for taking time out of your day to help us out. As always, we've got our training opportunities across the country, regional training conferences, on-site training and online training, and we also have what's going on right now in Yakima is our emergency reporting experience. It's a 3-day conference where we go over the essentials on day 1, what we call integration on day 2. That day is where it's driven by the questions and the needs of the students, and we've got the system where we put all these post-it notes up on the board, and we go through and address concerns, issues, and processes that you need to know to get the most out of our system. So that is an unstructured but really fun day. Essentials is more on the basics of the system, and kind of we call it the lap around the modules, and then we focus heavily on the training module and on the incidents module, since those are very commonly used modules. We wrap it up on the 3rd day with lead ER or leader, and that day is in the morning all about administrators and the administration module. It's not limited to just administrators, but we go over the administration module very much in depth and how to get the most out of the various reports in our system. So that takes up the morning, and then the afternoon is what we call a mini meta scrum, where you get to help determine what new reports we generate, what new features we put into the system. And we had a great time at our Golden, Colorado event where we were able to keep this what we call the stories not epic, so the really manageable feats to be able to update our system and move it along. And this is what our product, in a nutshell, it's what our product owners push on to our development team to make changes in our system. So with that, if I could indulge all of you on the GoToMeeting side of the house, if you could just respond to this poll. And this poll, if you've been with us in the past, you've seen it, but we always like to get feedback from anybody who's also newly attending one of these sessions. We're very interested in seeing how we can help meet your training needs. So very simple question is, may we contact you about any of these particular training events? And hosting or attending a regional conference, on-site training or virtual training. And it just gives us a chance to connect with you. You're not going to get spam from us, and not a lot of phone calls. Casey will connect with you and see how we can meet your needs for training. So if you wouldn't mind just taking a few seconds to vote, just pick one. I think this one you may be able to pick more than one. So if you wouldn't mind doing that, I'll keep that open for about 10, 15 seconds. We've got about half of you voting. If you could do that, it would be awesome. And I know one thing I'm going to remember to do this time. It's a running thing with me is I forget to clear the poll out after I close it. So I'll be sure to do that today. All right, we're going to close it in 10, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. All right, I'm going to close the poll. I'm going to share the results. Looks like a lot of you are very interested in on-site and especially on virtual training. So expect a call from Casey in the near future just to touch base with you to see how we can meet those needs and arrange something specifically for you and your organization. And yes, I am going to hide the results. All right, back to the presentation. These are the ones coming up. As you can see right now as we speak, Yakima's in progress. We've got another day and a half there. Then Orange Beach in May, Morris County, New Jersey. And then we've got some we're working on for the summer, and in a future virtual Thursday, we'll get those dates posted. We just need to firm those up. But we do have dates in September, October, and November, as you see there. North Carolina, New Mexico, and in Alabama. Okay, since we last met at FDIC, we had 8 new or upgraded customers since last Thursday. And if any of you are one of those new customers, I'd like to welcome you personally to the emergency reporting family. And we hope that this is a good part of your initial experience with us. Always, where to find the latest info. Remember I mentioned that the system alerts right at the top here, where it says free training, the payroll module back on this particular slide. This is on for 2 weeks. So in the event you're a volunteer and you don't check your account as frequently, you can always go to the support button and it will take you to 6 months worth of all of our system alerts. That includes training announcements, updates to the system, any other things that have gone on that have been sent out from our office to keep you informed. So don't worry if you don't see this. We have these up every week for Virtual Thursday. In the event you miss it, simply click on support and you'll be good to go. Uservoice. This is huge. Bookmark this page, feedback.emergencyreporting.com. The way I do it on my browser, I've got 2 tabs on my when I open up my browser that are my home page. Emergency reporting, the secure.emergencyreporting.com login page for your account, and then this is the second tab. At this site, you're going to have knowledge base articles, and I just submitted, and by the way, Ryan, your last 3 articles were outstanding. So Ryan just submitted 3 knowledge base articles that will be updated soon into our system. This is the place where you're going to get the latest information. We still have our giant user manual, which has a lot of great information still, but because the system's constantly changing and improving, the most up-to-date ways to get help in using our system when you're not participating in the training event is right here at our knowledge base, and that's the site for it. It's also the place where you can suggest features for emergency reporting, and it's also on that site. So we've got it has a dual function there. It's a way for you to communicate with us what you need from us and what you need from the system, and it's also a place to learn as much as you can about how to get the most out of our system when you're not at a training event. Okay, here's what we're going to do today. I'm going to show you how to navigate the Training 3 grid. It's going to look very familiar to you if you've been in the occupancy or the hydrants module. That's kind of our standard now, that grid, because it allows us to sort and filter very efficiently. So I'm going to show you how to get the most out of that. I'm going to build a class template, and then I'm going to hand it over to Ryan, and Ryan's going to build a class from a template, and he's going to build a class from scratch as well. So he'll show you how to do that and how to schedule recurring classes. I'll do a quick glimpse into our Training 3 report. So Ryan, don't let me forget to do that. I'm going to show you the reports that we currently have for Training 3, and there's a bunch more coming, especially as we move to, well, we've already got standards in there that you can log, but we're also going to have JPRs here very soon. So there's going to be a lot more reports coming your way. And then Johnny's going to share some best practices and how he's using Training 3 in Anniston. All right. Thank you very much for joining us today. We're going to go ahead and get started. Before I do that, because this is our last slide, this is Casey's information. You can contact her if you want to learn more about training. And like I said, those of you that participated in the poll earlier, she will be in contact with you to address any needs that you have. But that's all her contact information there. close that out. Okay, everybody, I'm back. It did it at the same time. Every time I close PowerPoint, GoToMeeting crashes. So I just need to know that you guys can see my screen. Hold on one second. I need to make myself the presenter. Okay, I'm back. Sorry about that, everybody. It did it last week at FDIC. I think I know what the problem is. Every time I close PowerPoint, GoToMeeting crashes. So we're going to let GoToMeeting know what's up there, but I want to make sure if somebody at the office, we've got Sarah and we've got Mark Vodopich with us, both support techs, and they going to be able to answer your questions today. So give me just a second to recover. Sarah, if you could just send me a message that you can see and hear me, I'll proceed. I don't want to keep going if you guys can't hear me or see me. All right, we are now resuming Virtual Thursday on Training 3.0. Just a second. Audio is good, and you can hear me, or you can see my screen. Perfect, guys. I apologize for that. We're gonna get on the phone with GoToMeeting and see what's going on. Could be. I know all the Windows users out there are probably saying it's because you're on a Mac. All right, yeah, it might be that too. But anyway, let's jump back into it here. Okay, here's the grid, and what I want to do is show you some of the things that the grid can do for you when you're sorting classes. So here, by checking this box in the upper left corner, and what I'm going to do too is make it just a little bit bigger. All right, I'm kind of cramming a lot into the screen, but I'd rather have the characters a little bit bigger than super fine for those of you on smaller displays. All right, so here, by checking this upper left corner, it highlights everything on this page. And what that allows me to do is by checking, I can check all, uncheck all, just check a few, and then go to bulk operations. So this box here ties in directly with bulk operations. And in bulk operations, I can do a few things. I can print those classes. I can review them. So in this case, if they are, well, they're incomplete, so they're going to require some completion. But if they are completed and just need to be green locked, what I call green locked, change from complete to reviewed, I can do that here. And I can also archive them if I need to, all in one shot instead of having to go through class by class. This is particularly helpful if you have a recurring class. Say you're sending your crews out to your burn room at your training facility, and it's 3 shifts, and they're going to go do the same thing each day. So when Ryan shows you how to create a recurring class, you're going to have 3 classes that are essentially the same, with the exception of who's participating. You can go in and check those 3 classes and review them all in one shot. So when we get to the recurring class, that'll all make sense. But it allows you to save some time. That's what bulk operations do here. Moving left to right, you can sort by these time periods, and last 12 months, last 90 days, last 30 days, and you can see them all there. Now, one thing we're going to do, I know in the future, because this was a request from one of our customers out at Fort Benning, I should say it will probably happen. I don't want to commit just in case it doesn't happen right away. But one of the requests was not just the next 12 months, but they want to see not just this year, but all of next calendar year. So it would not surprise me in the least if that down the road becomes another part of this drop-down list. So in that case, when I show that, and keeping in mind that this is our demo account, I can show, let's show the next, I hope something comes up for next week. Let's go in the next, let's go last 90 days. How's that? So these will only show the classes that occurred in the last 90 days. And then you can further sort it. So let's keep moving left to right. Oh, and I can also sort ascending or descending. So this goes oldest at the top to newest, or newest at the top to oldest. Each of these columns have that ability to do that. So here, I'm wondering, well, in the last 90 days, what classes that we called EMS occurred? And then it will show me just those. And that's the name of the class. But maybe I'm more concerned with the broader category. I can do that as well. Just remember that when you go to sort, if I had kept EMS here, obviously it's going to capture that category. But if you want to capture everything, you've got to clear that field, and then now it captures all your EMS classes, not just the ones that have the word EMS or the acronym EMS in the name of the course. And again, go back to all. Say I want to see all the classes that we did at the Public Safety Academy. I can do that in the last 90 days based on location. Just a second, guys. I'm going to double check that we still have a connection with our team out at the... Okay, there we go. We're good. I think our Marines are still on with us. Okay. Lead instructor. I want to see all the classes I've instructed. I want to see all the classes, any of all our instructors. And this will populate from the field when we go to build a class, who that lead instructor was. So I want to see all the classes that Tommy taught. It gives me those. And the function works the same. I want to see how long classes were. I can sort from shortest to longest, longest to shortest, and again the blank ones will appear at the top. I can see its status. So this one's a particularly useful one. Let's go back to sorting in the last 90 days with the most recent class at the top. This status is helpful, especially for training officers, is because you can go in and see which classes are scheduled coming up, which are incomplete that need to be finished, and it will just show you those. One very important thing to keep in mind, everybody, is that if you're looking, where's my templates? Well, it defaults when you go into training now, it defaults to the last 90 days. So if you need to see templates that were created prior to the last 90 days, simply click All here and then select Complete Templates here, and you'll be able to see them. Because what will happen is you'll go here and go to the last 90 days and go, where's my templates? So this is a little tip to keep in mind. Your templates are all there. It's just because what happens is if we go to all in most cases and you've got thousands of training events here, it takes a longer time to load. So what we did was we defaulted it to 90 days so it loads faster for you. But what that's causing is templates that were created longer than 90 days ago are hidden. They're still there. Just change your date sort to all and you'll be able to get them back. Station, same way. So you can see you've got some really great tools here, and I'm going to go into advanced search here momentarily. But essentially, you've got a lot of power at your fingertips just on the grid itself to kind of drill down and find the classes that you're looking for. So up there, let me see if there's any questions on those that I can answer. No questions I'm seeing here. Sarah, looks like we're good. All right, and the feel for this grid is what's going to be going to occur in our legacy modules as we move on. We found that this particular grid is going to be the same feel that you have in the hydrants grid, in the occupancy grid, and also in our pending maintenance grid, which was just revamped. It gives you just a great tool to find things fast, and we found that that's going to be something we want to. Hold on. Hold on 1 second. Okay, I'm back. So with that, if there's no questions, just know that this is going to be kind of our branding in a way that lets you know you're in ER, and this is the main pages for a lot of our modules now. All right, I'm going to let the add class and add class template, I'm going to let Ryan take care of that, but I do want to show you before I go to the add class template that if you do a CSV download, right now the CSV download will export everything that's on this page, so I have a total of 58 records on this particular page. Let me go back and go to the last 90 days to show you what I mean. So I have 58 records on this page, so 58 training events. When I click CSV download, I can download class information. I can also download class people. What that looks like when you download it is this. And that's a lot, but it's essentially that grid with your detailed training information, including codes, location, and objective. And I'm going to make that bigger because it is super small. So if you need to pull different type of data out of it, you can do that right here. And it's essentially that grid, but gives you that ability to remove columns and sort in any way, create graphs, all of that here. And of course it adds a few more fields as well from the class itself. So I did want to show you that capability that you can CSV download right from the training grid and get your training data. The advanced search is also a particularly good tool, and I'll show you why here. I can drill down as specific as I want to the point of individual people in my department to find and basically pull up a table of all of their classes in one shot, and then you can use that CSV download to pull their training records out into an Excel spreadsheet if you're inclined to do so. And as we move forward with more training reports, you're probably not going to ever need to do that, but I just want to let you know that the tool is there. And in lieu of me going through each of these, just suffice it to say that you've got the ability to drill down even more specifically than in the training grid by using all of these categories in combination to find particular classes, people, instructions, how long classes were, date range. You can configure the date range for a specific date you're looking for, or you can do the range. And again, the range is the same drop down that appears in the main grid. And then you run a search. So let's just say I want to see all the classes that Dave Adams was in, and I'm not concerned about where, when, or why. I just want to see all of his classes. I can run a search, and this gives me the list of all his classes. It shows here in the lower right corner, I've got 11 records of classes that Dave Adams attended, and then I can pull it from there via CSV and have a nice, really nice snapshot of the training record just without even going into the reports module. All right, I've got a couple minutes before I'm going to pass it over to Ryan. So I'm going to add a class template. So this is the beginning of what you're going to use as a foundation for adding classes to your department. We recommend that you instruct your troops to add classes from templates. The reason being is you build this up on the front end, and yes, it takes time to do that, but the good thing is that by building classes from templates, you're going to have a consistency instead of every time. And I know in my department, we would just kind of put classes in from scratch. So someone who goes to a continuing education for, their paramedic, might put it in differently than I put it in, so then trying to find things on a consistent basis makes it tougher. You got to do a little more work. So it's just a tip. You don't have to follow it this way, and there's certainly be times where you may have to add classes from scratch, but a recommendation we have is that whenever you're having people build classes, have them build it from the template, and Ryan's going to show you how to do that. What I'm doing here is building that actual template. So what's neat is that if I need to, I can create a template from scratch, but I've already created some templates previously, and so I like how I set up my driver operator training course template. So I'm going to use that as the foundation to build my new template. This one is going to be called DO, and we'll call it didactic. How's that? So I'm going to add this template. So what it's going to take me to right now is my template. But remember, I built it from a previous template. If I were to build a template from scratch, all these fields would be blank, and that's fine. And when you first set your templates up, that's how you're going to have to do it. But in this case, because I liked most of what this template had to offer, I can now go in and customize it and do even more for this particular topic called didactic. So I have to select a class category, and we talked about that last week on creating class categories. It's not required, you'll notice, I can select the station, or since it always takes place at our training center, I can put it there. You have to select an evaluation method, and it can be, in this case, there's a written but not a manipulative. The instructors you can remove or add as you see fit, and in this case, because you might have different instructors each day, I'm going to go and remove myself from it because I won't be teaching it every time. And then when you go to create the actual class, you'll add your instructors. Resources, the same thing, any resources that you might need, and then any training codes that apply to it. And we've set in the settings that training codes, as you build your training codes, the sum of those training codes add up to the entire class length. You don't have to do it that way. We've just done it. We've checked that in this case. So that way, hours for each training code applies to the class, and you break up the class. It's an 8-hour class, and we're going to have 2 hours that's going to go towards Type 1 engine for DO certs, Type 2 engine for DO certs 1 hour, and then we may even spend some time on water tender at 1 hour. And again, this is just an example of building a template, but I guess the takeaway from this is that you're able to get things built on the front end, so it's much easier to add classes on the back end. Standards, this is brand new. We've only built a couple in our demo account, but I'm going to call this ISO company training. I know there's an ISO category for driver operator, but so imagine this says driver operator, and then I can apply that standard to the class. I can change the location if need be. And that's what it was there before, so we're good. So that's page 1 for the template. Remember, this isn't the actual class. This is just the template we're going to build a class from. Files, the key thing here on files is that I can add files from my system anywhere. I can add links. So say we want them to watch a video before they go in, or you need them to go to another website to study before, or they log into your content platform for training, whatever that might be. Here's the link. We need you to go finish this class online. And then you can also add task sheets, and we added those task sheets into the settings up here, and we talked about that last week. So once we have the recording from last week up, you can review that. But it gives you a lot of tools here so that when they go and log in and see that they're assigned to this class or they're going to take this class, all the information that you want them to have, both pre and post class, can be here. And then at the end, as long as I've got greens here, and greens mean green is good, I can go ahead and close this template out. I can put notes in there if I want to, set this class, and even though it says class here, guys, just remember, look at this button, it's complete class template. So I'm completing the template. It should turn that green. I go back to my training grid, and I want to see templates. Now, because I did create this in the last 90 days, this should appear as such. And it didn't. So let's go with all. And we're going to go with There it is down at the bottom. Hold on. Sorry, guys. On that search, there may be a glitch there. So let me. That's the class. That's the template I just created. Even though I just created it, for some odd reason it didn't show, and it could be just a link between the date and the template tables within the system. So no worries. We found it, and this is where the template is. I can go in and take a peek at it, and remember it's already authorized and closed, so I can't make any edits to it. But if I have full permissions to this module, I can go ahead and make it incomplete and make any adjustments to it. So with that said, let me see if we've got any questions. Oh, and a good question from the Marines. Your training site is very different from the one that's being demonstrated. Chances are, Michael, you are on training 2.0, and we can talk about that after the session if you want to. It is not a different software version, it's just a different version of the training module. So, and that may be the case for some of you that have joined us today. We are in the process, and I'll be making a couple mentions of this at the end of the session about migration from training 2 to training 3. All right, I need to transfer this over to Ryan. So give me just a second. He's going to take it from here and build an actual classroom template and a class from scratch. All right, Ryan, you ready to go, bud?
I am.
Excellent. I'm going to make you the presenter. Give me just a second. All right, and the Marine team, give me just a second here. Okay, Ryan, you have the con.
All right. Right, so what we'll do is we will start off by adding a class from a template, and we'll go ahead and use the one that Tom just created. Okay, well, maybe not. We'll just use this one, the original one that he had created that last template off of. We're going to choose today and say that it happened this morning. And for this one, we're just going to do a single training from the template. We'll do a recurring training when we do it from scratch. So now you can see when we're doing it from a template, just like how he created that last template from our previous template, everything is filled in, and we can make the adjustments as necessary. For instance, in this one, I'm going to take Tom out as the instructor. Put myself in. One of the nice features of the Training 3.0 for either those of you that were on Training 2 or may still be on it, so we can now add multiple instructors and assign them as either an assistant instructor or an evaluator. Something to keep in mind is if I select another person and do not change this from the lead instructor, it will put them in as the new lead instructor, and it moved me to an assistant instructor. So that's just something to keep in mind. Again, we can make any changes necessary to any of these other categories. We'll say that we did not do anything with the water tender, so we're going to remove that one. You can see it changed our class length to 7 hours. One of the things to note, change from the training 2 was before it used to be a free text field. Now everything is drop downs as set in the settings. But in the event that you do not have what you need here, you can enter a new location and description of that directly on this page without going back to the settings.
Hey Ryan, can you make your screen a little bit bigger for everybody? Can you zoom in on that web page? It should be Control Plus. Oh, you're on a Mac, so Command Plus should zoom that window in for you. There we go.
Is that better?
Thanks. Thank you.
Right, not a problem.
Thank you.
Just one other thing to know. I know some people have run into questions with it. The difference between the location and the station. The station is simply how you want that to show up on your logbook on the main page. So again, if everything else on our page here is filled out how we want it, we can either add any additional objectives to this page, or if we go to the next tab, the narrative also gives us the availability to add further notes to this class. Completely optional. The Files tab, as Tom did mention, we can add files directly from our computer, whether it be a PowerPoint, the URLs. So now I have a YouTube video that I want everybody to view who's taking this class. I do have to give that a name and a description. It doesn't have to be anything fancy. Now this shows up here with the link to that video. And click right on this icon here. It will take you to that video in a new tab. So that's the file section. You can either click directly on each one, or you can tab back and forth between them. Under the People tab, I can now add either agency personnel that attended the class, or if I want to, I can add outside agency personnel that attended if I want to track that. Again, completely optional. So now my People tab is green. Grade, you can either add for everybody, or you can type them in individually. And you'll know, if you did notice, this does save periodically as I'm updating the information in these tabs. So now I've completed this class from a template. One thing I do want to point out is for those of you that need to have paper records with signatures indicating for your state that people have attended the class, what you can do is come over to the print icon on the grid page, and print out a sheet which will give you the ability to have essentially a sign-in roster for people to sign. now it does not want to work in my browser.
It sometimes takes a while, Ryan. Usually not this long.
There it goes.
There it goes.
Oh, we can check back on that, see if it does load or not. Just for the sake of keeping things moving, what we're going to do now is just add a new class from scratch, but make it a reoccurring training. You'll notice this now changed to first class, date, and time. So on this initial page, all we're doing is entering the first time that this class is going to occur, and later in the process of setting up the class is when we will be able to add the other dates in. We'll go through this just very quickly since we've already seen the screen before. Again, as Tom mentioned, the way that we have it set up here is our times based off of our training codes. That's an option in your settings that you can adjust if you do not want to track it that way. So now this tab is green. I'm set proceed forward. I'm not going to add anything for a narrative, and I'm not going to upload any files for this particular class. I'm going to add my people. If I want to, I do not have to at this point. If I'm doing this for individual crews, most likely I'm not going to add anybody into this at this point. Simply because I don't know who's going to be working each of those days, and I don't want to add everybody. In the event that I do, and somebody didn't attend, they can be deleted out of the class when it's being completed. Now, this last tab is showing schedule. Now what I can do is I can add the other dates that this is going to occur. And I need to make sure that I hit the insert button, and now it's showing the scheduled dates. For this class. Click on schedule it. Now you'll notice that it does not show up here because I am selecting classes that are in the last 90 days. So I can either change that to all, or I can select a future time period. And now they will show up here. So that's a quick overview of adding a class both from a template and from scratch. Tom, anything else that you'd like me to touch on?
No, Ryan, nicely done. Thank you for showing the grid too after you've got the scheduled classes listed there, and that really was kind of the way I wanted you to wrap it up, so that's fantastic. Let me make sure we don't have any other questions. We'll keep you online here for just a minute on your mic on. I know we had a question from Andrew, is what is the timeline for JPRs? I expect it's summertime, Andrew. I don't want to give you an exact date because if I'm way off, you'll be upset, or either you'll be way upset or be pleasantly surprised if I'm wrong, so if it comes sooner rather than later. But I'm expecting it by this summer, And one of the things I want to ask all of you that are participating today is that if you are interested in being a beta tester for the JPR portion of it, and that we're looking, what we're doing is beta testing it. We'll turn it on for your account in its beta form, and then you give us feedback as to what we need to tweak, what we need to make more usable for you. So if you're interested in that, all we need you to do is put a chat message, type in a chat message saying, hey, I'm Andrew from such and such department. I'd like to be a beta tester, and that'll appear in our report from this GoToMeeting session, and I will forward that on to my boss, Bob, and he will be sure to connect with you as we move forward with the JPR portion of the training module. So just send a little chat message, and Sarah's going to track it as well, and we'll be able to connect with you and then have your department as a beta test. And it's actually a great opportunity to see something new in the system and to give us feedback before it deploys system-wide. So does anybody have any questions for Brian or for Ryan regarding entering a class from scratch or from a template? Doesn't look like it, so you did an awesome job. Thank you, Ryan. I'm going to go ahead and turn your mic off, and I'm going to pass it over to Johnny to take us home today. Hey, Johnny, you there?
I'm here, Tom. How are you?
I'm doing great, man. Thank you so much for taking time out of your day. I'm going to make you the presenter. Give me just a moment, and I'll let you run with it. And
all right.
Talk a little bit about how you're making Training 3 work great for you in Anniston.
All right.
You should have the con now, and then just share your screen. I think we're going to be good. There you are. If you could too, I think on the Windows machine it's going to be Control Plus. So just zoom your screen as you move over to the training module.
Sure.
But I can see your screen perfectly.
All right. You can see everything okay?
Yeah, you kind of clipped on the left side, but I found that sometimes happens with the Windows. But go ahead and go into the training module, and then we'll go from there. That's
all right.
That's actually pretty good right there. Real good.
Okay. Well, thanks for having me, Tom. What we talked about me going over was more the new user, some of the things I found that have been easiest for me. And like we said last week, I think the best practice when you start using ERS is to figure out your objective. What is your main objective? And of course, we talked about my major concern was ISO. I didn't want my documentation to change. I didn't want to have issues with it. That's my main concern. That's a big, big part of my job. So the way I set up all of my tree, like we talked about, from the class categories down to the codes, was according to ISO. I haven't used the class templates a whole lot yet. I'm just kind of getting to that point now. We've been using this system for actively for training for about a month and a half, right at 2 months now. And so it's been a process getting the daily training rolling. And that's what I've got all my guys getting used to, is putting in their daily training for their station. I assign the categories that they have to fit their daily training in. They teach the class, they enter it, and I keep an eye on it to make sure the information is getting entered correctly, that the training codes are correct. And as you can see, obviously these 3 days, their daily training at their station for the companies is care of apparatus and equipment. And like it showed on my home screen, that's easy for me to see. I'm going to go back and show you to that. By the way, I've got my settings on my home screen. It tells me what's being entered as I open my home screen up. And that's helpful because I do have to review these and make sure the information is correct and accurate. I think we're at the point now where we're going to start playing with templates and putting different templates in. I was just afraid to overload the system with junk, too much stuff, stuff that didn't work for us. So we're taking it baby steps at a time. But I do think it's time to start messing with templates. Back in the training. Like he showed you, creating a class from scratch, which was just the add class button. It was easier for me to teach people how to add a single class rather than messing with the templates. It was kind of confusing to everybody, the difference between a template and a class. They figured that out pretty quickly. And this, by having them enter their own information and me not doing recurring classes for them, for one thing, that's a ton of front-end work on the training officer at first, and it's not giving them the training they need to learn how to input into the system, because I can't input every class that they do. They have to learn to do that themselves, especially when they start putting in their own individual training, especially outside agency training, certifications at the fire college, or if they go to the NFA, any of that. I want that stuff in here, and I can't keep up with that to do that for them. We're not a huge department, but 85 people, 88 people is too many for me to individually do that for every one of them. So as you can see, they're right on schedule. Everybody's doing good, and I can click in and check the information on a scheduled class. My main agenda is to make sure they've got the correct number of hours marked for the class, they've got the correct code for the class, and they've entered the people that are at their station for the day correctly. So I do that every day right now. Everybody's rolling on it pretty well, that it doesn't take me but a couple of minutes to check each station. And then usually the day after the class, I'll go through and authorize. I've had my captains helping me with that too. Captain on each shift is going through and double checking and trying to correct any errors, letting the lieutenants know that, which is the station supervisor, letting them know of the errors they're making so that they'll go ahead and correct them on their own in the future. And so far the system's working real well.
Johnny, any pain points, any challenges that you had to overcome as you implemented the system? Things that were like, oh, how do I get this? How do I figure this out? Or how do I make this work the way I want it? Can you think of anything that stuck out for you that maybe our other users might run into?
Well, right now, I think the biggest challenges are figuring out there's so many different parts of the system that are good that you want to use, but if you go too quickly into it, just like the task sheets, adding different task sheets and stuff. Let me slide to that and I'll show you. I added a ton of task sheets in there because I wasn't exactly sure what these task sheets were for. And so about half of it's really applicable for what we need it for. So I spent a lot of time adding emergency service EMS rules and protocols for 2013, which honestly we really don't need in our task sheet category. The hazardous materials stuff, these are student manuals, instructor manuals, and basic PowerPoints for each of these different subjects. And I assign these subjects every month. So I wanted to be able to provide material for my instructor on this system and use it. Those are definitely applicable, and I'm glad I put those in there. But I think that would be my main challenge, and is figuring out how to use it effectively and not just dump information into it. And that's why I held off on the templates, because I don't want to just dump templates in that aren't usable, that I just cloud the screen up with them. I want to put stuff in that's effective, it's going to work for my department, that we're actually going to use. And for every department, these are going to be different. For us, obviously, hazmat is important. Airport, our FAA regulations for our airport certified personnel is important. My ISO is extremely important. But I've even got, for Fire Officer 1 certification, I've got their skill sheets in here. I don't know that I need to have some of this stuff in here. It's easy to take out, but it's just a lot of work on the front end that was almost a little bit wasted. And that's been my biggest challenge, is figuring out how to use it effectively. Then I figured out just to slow down, take my time, let one thing start working itself, everybody getting trained on it, and all my ISO, my daily training classes getting put in, and slow down a little bit and realize that I do have time, and over time I'm starting to figure out how these class templates will work, how to use reoccurring classes, how that's going to work better for me in the future by holding off on it and not trying to rush into it. The skill sheets, I got a lot of task sheets, I got a lot of ideas about our task sheets that I would like to start implementing, but I'm going to have to clean some of this junk out before I start doing it, because I've got so much in here already that I'm overloading my guys when I start asking them to do some of this stuff.
Well, I think you've done a fantastic job so far, and that's why I've asked you to join us, because I think you're having your process for implementing this has been fantastic. And I even remember Chief Randall out there saying that you guys had initially planned to implement emergency reporting over a year, but based on the training, based on getting the right people in the right spots, you guys are full tilt right now, aren't you? And this,
Oh, yeah.
you weren't going to go full on until December of this year, but right now you guys are all in. You're all in right now.
Yeah, and honestly, I think it was better that way. Like I told you last week, I think us, getting the front end information put in, as much data, accurate data, put into the system as we could, and then just rolling with it and learning as we go. Of course, keep paper documentation, which is how we've done things here, and it's always been paper. So this is a miracle for us to have something this organized. But start rolling with it. Keep the backup documentation for a month or two until we know this is working and rolling good, and all our people are rolling with the ball and not making mistakes that we're not catching. And I feel like it's doing real well. It's giving me all the information I need for what I feel is important to me as a training officer at this time. And I want to just start making the system more user-friendly to my guys. And I'd like to put different things to help them do their job in here.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Johnny. And we've got a question from Eric out in Medford, Oregon. He is wondering if it'd be all right if we passed along your contact info, because he's an airport department, and one of his challenges is the FAA requirements, and he just wanted to see how you've approached it. Would we have your permission to give him your
Sure.
email address?
Sure. Yeah, and as far as that goes, we actually just went through an inspection last week. And so I'm learning a lot right now with the FAA and airport, and every inspector is a little bit different. And so I'm trying to get things set up with us to where it covers each individual inspector and makes them all happy. Because each one of them expects something a little bit different. They're going to be looking for their pet peeve. And
Okay.
so there's a lot to cover.
Well, with your permission, then I'll go ahead and forward your contact info to him, and I imagine he'll be contacting you relatively soon. So
Sure. I'm glad to share. It helps me too.
excellent. All right, and we just sent him your email address as we speak. Sarah, you are on it. Thank you very much. So Eric's got it. So I imagine he'll be getting that from you, from us. He's got it now, so I imagine he'll be in contact with you soon, Johnny. I'm going to take this home and then close it out. I'm going to move over and just do a quick peek at our reports. And I can't thank you enough. Great job once again this week. And I wish all you guys the best out at Anniston. Keep up the good work. And I'm going to put a plug in. I have to do this because you guys make the best use, one of the best uses I've seen out of Facebook for a community. I'm trying to the department, and you guys are constantly putting up when bad weather's coming in, things going on in your department, and relevant stuff. Not just, you do a great job, I think, with your social media. So whoever's doing that there, please give them our props. That's a great job.
Thanks, Tom. We appreciate it. Appreciate y'all.
All right, I'm going to do quick with Ryan here. I'm going to keep you unmuted just for a second, Johnny. So Ryan or Johnny, I've got you guys unmuted. Any other things you'd like to add before I show them the report section briefly, and then we'll close it out?
I will just add that the big thing is getting used to the different fields that you have in the settings just to make the system work for you and your agency. Everybody does things a little bit differently, so don't be afraid to play around with things, make it fit what you need, and use other agencies that use the system as a resource. Maybe they are doing things a little different, and get some good ideas from that.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Awesome. Let me, I'm sharing the screen right now back to me just so I can show the reports real quick. And pop that up real fast. John, anything else before we close?
No, Tom, like you said, just play with it and realize it's a process, and put in good information and take your time.
All right. Thank you, guys. Thank you very much. All right, before we close, just a couple things. I want to thank both the team from the Marine Corps. I think our beta test for using their platform at the same time as GoToMeeting has gone very well. Chief Barry, I will be in touch with you today to connect with you as far as switching from Training 3 or from Training 2 to Training 3. We'll get that going for you. And a question that was asked was by one of our Marine participants was by Mike, was that can you share templates with other departments? The answer right now is no. However, I'm hoping that like in the agency friends where you can share inspection forms right now, that down the road we will be able to share training templates. So if, say, Johnny's created these outstanding FAA training class templates, why couldn't Eric out in Oregon be able to share those? And it's not there yet, but there's been a demand for things like that. This isn't the first time we've heard it. So with that feature request, if it's not already on our Uservoice site, let's get it there. And everybody who participated today, just do a search on the Uservoice site for sharing class templates. And if the idea hasn't yet been posted, somebody's going to post it, or you can post it, and then everybody that participated can vote. And the more votes something like this gets, the more likely it's going to get pushed through our development channels. So a great idea from Mike out at the Marines. To close, I just wanted to show you, these are the current, I want to make it bigger, the current training reports. As you can see, there's a lot of them in the 1600 series, so it's 1626. These are new reports being created pretty much weekly, it seems, for this module. Right now, if there's a report that's not here that you want, let us know, and we'll get that to the development team. But we know that there's a lot more reports needed here, in contrast to the old Training 2.0 module. There were a lot more reports, and we're definitely working on getting this to that same level. But right now, we've got the decent enough reports to get you started and being able to generate data and reports to the people that need it, such as ISO, your chiefs, and governing boards of your organizations. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and close it. We're just a little bit past the hour. Thank you, everybody, for attending. Again, this is our 31st Virtual Thursday, so same time, same place next week. I believe next week's module, next week's topic is the maintenance module, and we've had some changes to it, so we're going to give you an update on all those changes. And I want to thank Sarah, as always, for being my wingman, and for Mark for being there to support us with questions so we can get those answered quickly as we're proceeding through the presentation. And also want to see Robin's on board with us. She is the person. I always have to mention Robin because one of the things we're moving forward with emergency reporting, I think we're all kind of tired of those phone trees when you call in, press 1 for this, press 2 for that, you know, and you have to listen to this long cascading menu before you can actually do what you need to do. Well, during business hours, we've got an actual person, Robin, sitting there to direct your call to where it needs to go. So when you call in, it's going to be Robin. So if you need help, you call the office, just be nice to Robin. She's working hard for us. So with that, thank you again, everybody, and I wish you a safe week. If you're on shift today, have a safe shift. And any questions that were lingering, I'm going to keep this up for a minute and make sure I can answer those questions offline via an email, but it looks like we've got them all answered. Those of you that are interested in beta testing, I'm going to write your names and departments down, and I'll pass that on to my boss, and we'll get you in the loop for beta testing. So with that, we did a lot today, and multi-platform, multi-presenter, and all in all, it went pretty well. So can't thank you enough. We'll see you again in the very near future, everybody.